When I started learning the guitar, I had a classical teacher. He taught me to play open strings and then short melodies, and then we added a bass line here and there and all that kind of stuff. And my best friend at that time, he got into listening to jazz music. He got all those recordings from his drum teacher and his older brother. And guess what? Soon I found myself into listening to jazz music too. And I was bewitched by all those sounds that I wasn't used to. When I then first played those 7th chords on my guitar, I was so happy because suddenly all the sounds that I loved from the recordings were coming out of my guitar now. Soon I found out about all the different possibilities and that endless pool of guitar chord voicings that were behind that. And I was quite frankly overwhelmed. But you gotta start somewhere, right? So the first major 7th chord that I learned was this one here in the key of C. I love that sound. Especially when you move the neck a bit, keep that arm firm here. And move the neck, that sounds like a wave. And this chord voicing here is actually coming from our open A major chord that we all know. And when you look at the middle 4 strings here, we have an A, we have an E, we have an A, and we have a C sharp. So we have all the notes to complete the A major triad, the 3-note chord. And that second A here is actually not necessary, it's just doubled. So let's get rid of it and make it a G sharp, and we keep the rest. And now we have an A major 7th chord. I can't help myself, but that major 7th chord voicing reminds me of bossa nova. And when I learned my first major 7th chord in the key of C, it was the same fingering as this one here, but moved 3 frets to the right. This fingering is C major 7, and of course we have to move our open string as well. So have a look. In A major 7 we have one open string here, the A string. We have to move that as well. So if you move it 1 fret to the right, we have our index finger on the 1st fret, and then 2nd, and then 3rd. We end up having this fingering here. And here's what I love about the guitar. As long as you don't play open strings, you can keep that fingering and move it up and down the fretboard, and you will always play the same musical concept. So our musical concept here is a major 7th chord, and we have it here in the key of C. But if I want to play D major 7, I just move to the 5th fret, here's my D, and I have a D major 7. And if I want to play F major 7, I move to the 8th fret because this is F, and I have F major 7. And it's always the same shape. I remember when I learned this chord here, a D7. At that time I was playing with 2 other guys who were way older than me and way ahead of me in making music. But because we were living in a small town, there weren't too many musicians around. So we ended up having that trio at least for a short period of time. And we wanted to play that song. I don't remember much of it, but I remember I wanted to play a certain rhythm where open chords were no use to it. So I had to learn this D7 chord here. And have a look. This is also coming from our A major chord shape here. And that second A here, which is unnecessary, we get rid of it and make it a G, so the open G string. And what we have here is an A7 chord. And when we move to D, make sure that you bring along those open strings. So here we have the A string open and the G string open. And we want to keep those in our D7 here as well. And I bar the 2 and end up having this. And like I said, you can take that chord voicing here and move it up and down the fretboard, and it'll always be a dominant 7th chord. I'm glad you asked. Sure, you can do the same thing with your A minor chord shape. So your open A minor consists of A, E, A again, and C. So we have the same situation here. We have two A's, so we don't need that second A, and we get rid of it and we make it a G sharp, and we end up having this chord here. Wow, this sounds highly dramatic. This is an A minor major 7th chord. And when you move that second A to G, to our open G string, we end up having this, which is an A minor 7th chord, which is way more common. And you can take that same fingering and move it along the fretboard. And what I do here is I bar again my A and G string, the ones that were open strings before, I bar them with the index finger and I place my A minor 7th chord shape next to it, and I have that fingering here and that sound. That will be in this case here a C minor 7th chord, and you can move it along the fretboard. Let's play a nice chord progression, shall we? So we have D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, to C major 7, and then A minor 7. Now let's get familiar with the chords first. We have D minor 7, so we are here on the 5th fret with our index finger, and we bar so that we hold down with the index finger the A string and the G string together, and then we have our kind of like A minor shape here without the middle part, so we leave the G string free, at least up to the index finger. Then we take the same fingering, we move 2 frets to the right, this is E minor 7. Now we have to change the shape and go 1 fret to the right, this is F major 7. So we need the middle finger here on the G string. And then we lift the middle finger and move 2 frets to the right, and this is our G7 here. And then we need the middle finger again, and we move to the 3rd fret with the index finger. This is C major 7, middle finger is on the G string. And then we go to A minor 7. That's the last chord. Alright, so let's play it with the backing track together and keep it simple first if the chords are new to you. And play only 1 downstroke per chord. Alright, are you ready with your D minor 7? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time, D minor 7, ready? Alright, cool. I like that sound. I'm sure you're interested in more awesome chord voicings to enrich your guitar playing. Check out what I do in this video with the ordinary C, D, and G.